Super BS.
What's up, my doodlies? It's Brank here from Super BS, a podcast about video games mostly. We're back from the dead and ready to bake some bread. I'm joined by...
JJ Josherson, mostly, is what I'm trying to say here. Yeah.
Mostly. I like the mostly JJ Josherson. You're normally someone else, but sometimes you're this other person, then
sometimes
mostly
I just
you're
decide,
this guy.
who mostly is JJ Josherson.
I'm loving that, bro.
Yeah.
We got a ton of gaming stuff to talk about today. It is like somebody, I feel like, turned the faucet on news this last week. So hopefully that's a normal thing that's happening for the rest of this year. But I was kind of blown away. Before we get to the news, let's talk about games and what have you been playing?
So, yeah, kind of a slow week for me. Just started work, so I haven't been playing as much. Played a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles, Deaf Edition, Definitive.
How far are you in that?
I'm like really just the beginning because I've been going around.
Oh, wow.
They give you so many side quests and like I can't help myself. So like I am about to leave the city, but then all these side quests pop up. So I found myself collecting all of them, and now I just want to get the red exclamation marks off of my screen.
You got to do it, man. You got to catch them all.
You got to do it, yeah. There's not enough towers in this game, which is unfortunate, but, you know.
You need to get those towers.
You should towers.
Write to
tower.
Nintendo and say, hey, your game from 2010 doesn't have enough tower, or maybe even 2009, honestly.
Tower power.
Tower power. Anything else? I feel like we've actually chatted up a little bit about Xenoblade in the past. We kind of all know what it is, action RPG.
So I got an arcade 1-up over this past weekend. Been playing that a lot. It got the... So I'm
what
a huge,
is that?
It's like a mini arcade. You know, it's probably about 4 feet high. It's not like a full size cabinet, but it's still pretty big. So like you can buy them. You can buy these little like booster things for them that kind of lifts them up a little bit in a stool, so you feel more like you're at an arcade. The one that they have a bunch. There's like a Capcom one that had like Ghosts and Goblins on it, and Final Fight and stuff like that, or you can get one with like Ninja Turtles. There's one with like Mortal Kombat. There's all the Star Wars games. The one that I have specifically has like every version of Pac-Man that ever came out in arcades and Galaga, and I'm a huge Galaga fan. I love Galaga. It's like one of my favorite games.
I gotta ask. So you're kneeling down to play this thing. You first get on your knees, right? Because it's 4 feet tall. So the comfortable way to play it. And then why did you not just build your own? I gotta ask, because I'm always curious when people buy these things, because you could build a main machine exactly like what you're talking about and put every single game you could ever want on it.
So
and it would be the same.
You can. There are ways to like hook a Raspberry Pi up to these arcade 1-up systems, but and I could like go through a company and try to build my own. This was about $200 versus the the path of going like $1,200 to $1,700. So this was just kind of a fun thing. I do have some complaints about it though. It's
too short. You got to kneel.
Well, outside of it being too short, it is hard to. So the Galaga that they have on there is based on a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 mod or version of the game. So
which is based on the Android mobile.
So like
the worst.
In the arcade, you can press it and like it doesn't delay when you fire. But on this one, there is a massive delay. So it'll fire 2 shots and then there's like a 2-second delay. So you can't, you have to be very strategic about where you're placing your shots in this game. So like that's my big complaint, and it's like it makes it incredibly difficult. They actually made it so a lot of the enemies that enemy types you fight later on in the game are now at the beginning levels. So I don't know. This version of the game is not my favorite. I would much rather have the original arcade version, just because that's, it plays a little more smooth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've never been interested in arcade cabinets. I think if I just had a lot of disposable income, I'd build a private one. But like you said, those are incredibly expensive. Even if you build on your own, the stick itself is going to cost you like $250 for like a decent one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I totally get your complaints. I totally get why they chose those things. That's probably way cheaper than them trying to get a CRT in there and run like a real old version of Pac-Man.
It's about I want to say it's like a 12-inch screen.
Yeah, I mean, does it have two sticks or is it one?
It's just one. If you buy the Ninja Turtle game, though, it has four sticks on it, so you can get Ninja Turtles, and they have the Golden Tee golf game that has a little roller on there. So it just depends on which one you buy.
And the Ninja Turtle one is also like $200?
The Ninja Turtle one is $400.
How heavy are these things too?
I mean, I can live. I can't put a number on it right now, but I mean, like I can.
Can you physically move it yourself, or do you have to dolly it?
No, I can physically move it myself. Like you can pick it up. Yeah, if you had the will to do it, you could pick it up easily.
Yeah, like if you had like friends over and you had the Ninja Turtle one, you guys were having beers, like that sounds like a blast to me. But
yeah.
Pac-Man, like I don't know. I always found those things as like novelties. I've played on those once or twice, and they're like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, those are always like dream projects of mine. Is like build the thing, paint the side of the cabinet, or get a professional artist to paint the side of the cabinet. Yeah. And then put everything you want on it with the thing. Have you been playing any other games, or was just Xenoblade and
just that? Xenoblade and the arcade. It's been a slow week for me. What are you playing, though?
I have played a lot of stuff, so I'm going to try to run through it quick because I don't want this podcast to be like more than an hour, and because it's crazy hot, and we'll all die of heat if we have to record for over an hour. But I have played quite a few things. I played Iconoclasts a couple weeks ago, but I didn't talk about it because I also played a lot of things that week. Do you know what Iconoclasts is?
No, what is it?
It's like an indie Metroidvania. It came out, I want to say in like 2017 or 18 on the Vita and the PS4, and then it made its way to Switch and was on sale. Heard a lot of good things. It's okay. It reminds me a lot of Owlboy. I don't know if you remember me talking about Owlboy.
Yeah, I remember you
Switch game.
liking that and then not liking it. You were on the fence about it.
Yeah, I feel like that almost immediately with this, and the story is just so nowadays like trite. Like it is an anti-religious game about like the church being evil, and you know, if this wasn't 2020 and this was like 2010, I think I would have been all about that. But, you know, we live kind of in an anti-religion world anyways, so I don't find it new or interesting. So, yeah, you know, the art is very nice and the movement's pretty good. I might keep playing it. You know, it was made by one creator. That's the one thing I will say is really astonishing. It's, you know, well made for that. Otherwise, I've been going through some of the Xbox summer demos. If you remember, like a few weeks ago, they released a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I downloaded all of them, and they were not timed because I am still able to access those downloads. I played Skatebird. Do you know what that is?
I do not. I didn't get to play any of them.
Okay, you can still download them if you want. I think they're all there on the store. But yeah, I mean, if you downloaded them, they're still able to be played. Skatebird is essentially like a really weird Tony Hawk-ish skating game, not as arcadey as that, but you are a bird, so you can also kind of like float. Yeah. It is a really alpha-y, beta-y demo, so there's nothing to really do. You just kind of skate around, do jumps. Yeah. It seems like it could be cool if it's like really polished and it's relatively cheap. Like I might give it a look when it comes out. I also played a game called Welcome to Elk that has a really, really phenomenal art style. It is like kind of an adventure game, and you walk around this island. Art style kind of reminds me of like Rick and Morty, I guess, mixed with like a Flash game, but it's very colorful and fun to like look at. So I dug it. And then the big game I kind of turned on that I haven't gotten too far based on Dr. Donna's recommendations was Greedfall. It's made by a company called... Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We've been talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Big Dog liked it it was one of his game of the years of last year.
Yep.
It's good. It's really cool. I haven't gotten very far. It is a spiders game, so there is some jank. It's not like a AAA, BioWare game, but it is kind of going for that AAA BioWare space.
Does it feel like Elder Scrolls, or what does it feel like? Mass Effect?
It feels more like Mass Effect with a slightly jankier combat system that I haven't really figured out yet. There's like a lot of you use blunt weapons to break armor, and then you use bladed weapons to cut through people, so you got to be switching your weapons. There's like a stop time mode. There's also like pistols, because it takes place in kind of like a fantasy 1700s time period. So it's cool. It's really neat. It's got a cool looking skill tree, and the way you level up, you can add like points and all types of neat stuff. I really dig it. Haven't gotten too far, but it has been fun. The main reason, new season of Apex, which I'm not going to talk about, but I've been playing that a lot. And the last thing I've been playing, which we'll actually talk about a lot more in the news, is Spiritfarer. It came to Games Pass and Switch yesterday as part of like the Nintendo Indie World, and I dig it. It's by this company called Thunder Lotus Games. I had kickstarted their first game, Jotun, back maybe like, 2014, about you're like a small Viking warrior princess and you go to Asgard or whatever. I really didn't get too far in that. But yeah, it's really cool to see. The artwork is just astonishing and beautiful. And everybody should give it a check. It's cool. It's not like a fighting game. It's like a kind of a Animal Crossing Harvest Moon style game, and you walk around, talk to people, and make them happy, and grow things, and cook things, and feed them, and you get more upgrades. They'll let you talk to more people, and you bring these spirits, and I haven't gotten very far, but I plan on like playing quite a bit of it. It's really good. But with that, man, I am ready to kind of head to the news. Do you have any other game playing things that you like to check in on?
Yeah, I don't at the moment, man. But I know there's some cool stuff in the news going on.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the news. Super BS. Yeah, so now that we're back, here's like we'll start with the stories that I kind of wrote down, but let's try to go from chronologically. The big thing that happened almost right after we recorded last week was Halo Infinite got delayed out of 2020 entirely and into some point of 2021. I don't even think they've set a date yet.
Yes.
What do you think about that, man?
It's astounding. I know they're blaming it on coronavirus, but I feel like if it was coronavirus, you would have known that you weren't going to make that deadline months and months ago. And with this,
so are you one of the people who think it's because of the graphics?
I think it's because the feedback on the graphics, and if that's the case, then that's fine. I mean, I thought the game looked okay, but I mean, don't blame it on coronavirus. Just say, hey, we heard the feedback, we want to give you a better product, and I'd be more okay with that. But now they're making it, by saying it's coronavirus, it sounds like they're making it sound like it wasn't even ready to be released to begin with, and that feels very deceitful to me, as they had made it like their flagship game during the Xbox Games event.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff that we kind of knew about before this actual delay happened. Like the multiplayer was not going to launch alongside the game. It was going to come later. The multiplayer is also supposed to be free to play. There's just a bunch of weird things. I definitely think the game probably wasn't ready, and they realized like, hey, people don't love this. It's kind of difficult to get the work done. We have the option to release this thing that people are going to be very upset at, or delay it. And in my opinion, when they delayed it, they should have delayed the Xbox Series X. I do not feel like there's going to be much pomp and circumstance going on when the Series X releases this year to 0 games.
Yeah, well, they're already committed at this point. Like, that's the tragic thing about this. The Sony and Microsoft created this game, and now they have to play it.
Yeah, it's amazing that neither of them been like, hey, let's push it back to next year. And not only that, when they delayed Halo, they then put a release month for the Series X. Supposedly it's coming out in November. I heard the rumor is November 6th. But, I mean, for me personally, I don't think I'm going to buy it this year. I mean, I don't know why I would, to play Assassin's Creed better or Cyberpunk better for $400 or $500.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a cheap thing.
It sounds like I know you can get both of those games just on Xbox One, PlayStation 4. So
yeah, you don't need the new consoles.
Yeah,
I mean, that was already known, but it was like, oh, we get a better Halo too.
And at this point, Halo was my motivation for buying an Xbox. And now I'm sitting here thinking, like, no Forza at launch, no Halo at launch. Like, what is going to really get me to buy that, that console? And there's nothing right now. So unless they have some kind of Xbox event, which I thought was supposed to happen this past week, I don't care. It's not. I'm not hooked on the idea of buying a new console right now.
Yeah, so Gamescom is the last week of August. There's still the potential that either of the big two, like PlayStation or Microsoft, are going to announce something there. But yeah, man, I think this killed all of my hype. My PS5 hype was pretty bad, and then today they announced that Deathloop was delayed, which was more even like, why should I buy this for Miles Morales Spider-Man? Some people even think that's coming to PS4. I feel like Microsoft did not do themselves a good service by making everybody think that their console was going to be this big launch this year, and if they had issues, just be upfront about that. Say it quick. Let us all know, like, hey, nothing's coming out this year. We have to push back everything this year. People would understand. We've already all got accustomed to no theme parks and no indoor dining and all the other things, depending on where you are in the U.S. Like, I think people would really understand, like, not being able to play the console this year and moving to next year. And I think for a lot of people, that would be not a big deal at all. There'd be some people would push them to Sony. But as we've seen in the past, like, even starting a year late doesn't mean you're out of the fight.
No, but on the negative side, it is like the voices that are loudest in the video game world are the Sony fanboys, and it's going to create, like, look at their voices and what it did to Halo. If that's, if our assumptions are correct, like, their voices could break an entire generation of Xbox fans. So it's like, that's what concerns me about it. Yes, I'd be okay with it being delayed, but the bad publicity could be something that they might never come back from.
Yeah, I understand, but I really think that not delaying it was not a great choice just because of everything going on. Like I said, I was somebody who was probably going to buy it if it was a reasonable price, and now I will not be buying one this year because I just don't care enough about playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla at the top spec. That's why I've never built a PC. Like, I've never been like, oh man, I gotta have that 401k, that 4K,
yeah, right.
120 FPS experience. It sounds great, but I don't think it's $500-$600 great. We'll see what happens. The next thing that happened, I want to say Thursday or Friday of last week, was Fortnite went on the offensive. They dropped the cost of their V-Bucks by 20% using a direct payment option, which is actually a breach of the TOS, terms of service, for both Google and the Apple Store. So they decided to say, hey, we're not going to play by the rules where Apple and Google take 30% of a cut. We're going to instead let you guys pay directly, and we'll drop our cost by 20%. Still, they make 10% more. This ended up just being like a war being waged. Did you get a chance to see some of this stuff?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was just trying to brush up on that story. From what I understand, they're Epic's taking Apple to court. And, like, I know Apple and Facebook and Twitter, like, all these big tech companies, there's a probe going on right now. And from what I'm reading, like, this could spell bad things for that probe because I forget, it's like some kind of unfair business practices or something going on.
Yeah, I personally don't know everything going on with the probe, but I do know that Epic, I think, handled this beautifully in a lot of ways. I don't know if you saw their trailer that they made, which was literally mocking the Mac trailer from the PC using 1984 stuff. I love that. I do think that these stores, the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, have a stranglehold over their devices. And yes, they did create their devices, but if there's only two on the market and both of those companies get 30% from everything sold on there, that's insane. Like, there's no other real way you can, like, put stuff on there. And Also, this same time, Apple recently said that the reason why you can't do Stadia or Microsoft xCloud is because pretty much they don't get a cut. They said it's because they can't vet the games and see if they're good or whatever. But the real reason is they don't get the cut.
Yeah,
they don't get 30%.
They cite reasons of like bullying and stuff like that. There is a lot of bullying on Apple games too. Like it's not, but nobody's safe from it. Yeah, and they are 30% is a lot of money, especially if you consider how much money Fortnite makes. A month even. Like that is a ton. That is a lot of money.
And I'm not a huge. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I think that Apple will suffer, but Apple won't suffer as much as Epic. So I hope that Epic wins this battle because Epic needs those profits.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same opinion. I'm not a huge Fortnite fan. I don't even truthfully love Epic, but I do like competition because I think it's better for everyone. And I think what Epic's been doing, whether it's the 12% cut on their own store versus Steam's 30% or all this other stuff, I mean, honestly, it's like great consumer behavior. It could all be for like optics, but whatever the case, it's better for the people who are playing. So I can't help but support it. I hope they get what they want, and I hope Apple and Google have to allow other people to do stuff if they want to either open up things, because you can't legally side load apps onto your phones, onto your Apple or Google Play. So if they allow competing markets, then, whatever. But, again, we'll see what happens. We'll see if anything happens. Apple, I think today was the first company valued at 200 trillion or 2 trillion. I can't remember the number. It was so silly. It was like a brand new valuation today. And you're just like, how did we get here? How did numbers get this high?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Consumerism, man. It's the consumers. People still go crazy for Apple. People will take, I've heard stories about people taking out small loans just to get the latest Apple iPad or iPhone. It's insane.
Which is kind of what you have to do if you buy I have I forgot what they called it now, X Max, or no, I have whatever the 11 one was, an 11. I just wanted to get whatever the big phone was. I had a 6 Plus previously, and then I upgraded to the exact model, the newer one. It's like it was $1,500 or some insane number like
expensive.
that. It's bonkers. It's literally insane. But whatever, they get their money, and I'm in their ecosystem. A lot of people are, so they constantly will get my money till I can break free, which I doubt I ever will. The other news is kind of around the DC fandom, which comes this weekend, and that is that Rocksteady, the company who made Batman, Arkham Asylum, and Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, is teasing their follow-up, which is a Suicide Squad game. What do you think about Suicide Squad?
This is a weird one for me because what made Batman such a fun game, and I have another thought on Batman because there's another news thing. I don't know if you read this, but what made Batman so much fun was that the style of game it is. Like, I look at Suicide Squad and it feels like it's going to be just another like third person, PUBG or Fortnite type feel to me.
Marvel Avengers, which is also coming out this year. Which is so strange.
It doesn't feel. I could probably get into it if it was something that, like, if I could play and you could play, we get Dr. Donna on, like we all had our own Suicide Squad members. Yeah. That would be cool. Or if we could customize our characters. But I think about Rocksteady, like, people wanted from them a new Batman game or a Superman game. Nobody wanted a Suicide Squad game. We've seen people try to adapt to lesser properties before, and it didn't. And not even to take into consideration that the Suicide Squad franchise is slightly cursed. So it just, look at the films and the comic books and stuff like that. So I'm curious if this was a move made to coincide with the release of James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, or if it was something that is a true like baby for them, because I know that they had something with like Deathstroke in the end of the last Batman game, but I don't know.
I don't think Deathstroke was actually we'll talk about this coming to WB Montreal's weird game that nobody really talks about, Arkham Origins. I want to say Deathstroke was in that. I don't remember him being in Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight was the Red Hood, right? And then Origins was...
and the Batmobile and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah. I remember that Arkham Knight was like the one that had so much glitch in it that you could barely turn it on without falling through the city.
I loved Arkham Knight. I actually had no issues with that game. I bought it the night it came out. I still remember it because it starts with like a really weird first-person part.
Yeah.
And I beat that game probably in a week. It was like one of my favorite games of the time.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I beat it in about a week too, but every time I turned it on, I ended up with a glitch. And it might just have been my Xbox. But what are your thoughts, though? Are you excited about this?
I mean, I'm excited to watch the trailer. Hopefully it's not a teaser. To watch the trailer on Friday, in a couple days.
Yeah.
I'm not excited for Marvel's Avengers, and the idea that this could be the exact same thing with another group of people makes me like a little bit apprehensive. I think you and I both know, though, that WB Montreal, the company who made Arkham Origins, they are working on another Batman property that will also be unveiled, it sounds like, Friday.
So that makes me wonder, like, does it take place in the Rocksteady universe? I mean, does WB own the Rocksteady universe, or is
they did for Origins? So
if it like takes place, if it's a continuation of that story, that would be cool. But I mean, if it's a totally new Batman game with new mechanics, it would feel like, we had Spider-Man Web of Shadows on Xbox 360, and that was followed up with Spider-Man Friend or Foe, which is a completely different Spider-Man game, and everything down to the mechanics of the character.
I think for this game, I think it's going to be a very similar Rocksteady game. I've heard it takes place. I don't know if you've read the graphic novel Court of Owls. I read it last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are suggesting that's what the game the world it will take place in, but inside the Rocksteady universe. So it'll be that story told in that. Yeah, so I guess the story told in the world of the Rocksteady stuff. If that's the case, like, I'm all for it. I'm down for another Batman game. I played like a few minutes of Origins, literally that much, and I did not ever feel like compelled to play more. I think I ended up selling the game. So we'll see, man. It really depends on when it comes out. If they release it the same week as Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Cyberpunk and every other game that's coming out this year, if all that stuff still holds, then no, I probably won't play it because it's the B team doing another Batman game. But if they release it either really soon or at a time when there's nothing, yeah, for sure. I mean, if they announce it and release it on Friday, man, I'd be so stoked for like a big AAA Batman game that plays like Arkham Knight. But there's a lot we're going to find out. I think that game is going to be unveiled at the DC Fandom this Friday. I feel like that one was like weirder, and there was like an ARG and a teaser for a teaser and all this other annoying stuff that, marketing people come up with nowadays that you're like, oh, this sucks. Like, just tell me what's going on,
Yeah. And the thing the distrust I have towards Warner Brothers about anything is that everything having to do with their heroes is centered around selling action figures, T-shirts, memorabilia. So who knows? It could be great, but it also could not be great, depending on who's in charge of it.
Well, yeah, there's like all of these issues with Warner Brothers too right now. Like, they want to sell off all of these teams. So this whole thing is just like bonkers. But I guess, we're going to know a lot in a couple days. Hopefully we'll know a lot. Hopefully it's not like a teaser for like game coming for the Game Awards this December, a trailer. I'm so sick of that stuff, man. But that's kind of like what everybody's doing. Like, there is potentially going to be a new Call of Duty this year. They still haven't shown anything about it. There's been like teasers and ARGs and games within games trying to not really explain it, but kind of like tell you, oh, it's coming.
I'm curious if it's developed for the next gen console and they like don't want them, because I was wondering about that too, and they like don't want them to show off what it looks like or what. But yeah,
I have no clue anymore, man. And I think honestly, with just how little everybody knows, they just need to postpone these consoles, push them back to next year, have, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and Spider-Man Miles Morales and Ratchet & Clank all drop with PS5, and have Halo and Forza and Fable drop with the Series X, and everybody would be so stoked. It would be like, this would be like the coolest console. But instead, what we're probably going to get is extremely expensive consoles this fall that will just, marginally upgrade games. Not probably marginally, like probably be really good, but upgrade games that you can already play.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, that's neat. I guess the real big news, though, happened yesterday, for me at least. The Nintendo Indie World. Did you get a chance to watch it?
So I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I've been reading about it. Like it sounds like there's a few cool things that got mentioned with that. And you had said that there's possibly going to be a main direct, right? In a week or two.
The rumor was, whoever gave the rumor was that this was going to happen this week, and then they would do a bigger showcase of something. They didn't say direct exactly, but rumored, some type of trailer thing the following week. Now, we won't know because, that so many of these, there's been like direct rumors, I feel like, for every single month this year. And obviously none of them have happened. So, but yeah, let's go over a couple of these games. I didn't write down all of them because it was quite a few, and I don't think a lot of them are worth talking about. But we'll start with the first one because I think it's definitely worth talking about. Hades. Did you get to see this game?
So I haven't gotten to see any of the trailers yet.
So it came out on the Epic Store, I think 2 or 3 years ago. When the Epic Store launched at that Game Awards, they released this game with it, Hades. It's like an action RPG. It's a roguelite. It's made by Supergiant. The people made Bastion and Transistor and Pyre. And it's supposed to come out fall 2020. I've heard nothing but great things about it. So like I'm all about it, man. When you get a chance, you check it out. I think it's like probably the best thing from the showcase. The next thing they talked about was Hypnospace Outlaw. Do you know what that is, or?
No. Sorry, I'm trying to see the Hades.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hades?
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, we'll probably talk about it a lot more because it's coming out in fall. It's probably the only one that I'll actually buy the minute it comes out because it's supposed to be really good. Hypnospace Outlaw, though, it's like a 90s... So the game takes place in what would be like a 90s social media site, like a Zynga or like a MySpace.
I'm looking at it right now. It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like a MySpace. Like you have the friends at the top, and there's chat dialogue boxes.
And so it's like a point-and-click adventure game. I'm kind of interested in it. It comes out in August 27th, so I guess in a couple weeks, and it's free for Games Pass. So like. It was a Switch showcase, but it actually got me checking up, like, which of these are coming to Games Pass, and a couple of them did. The other one was Spiritfarer, which came out yesterday. That's the one I talked about. It's really, really good, and it's from that Thunder Lotus Games. Next one I wasn't super excited about, but I thought it was worth mentioning, Card Shark. I don't know if you saw the trailer. It sounds like you didn't watch the trailer for these. Card Shark is like a weird poker-esque game.
Wait a second. Sorry, Spiritfarer is something they showed a long time ago.
Time ago.
Yeah, I remember I really wanted to play this one.
Yeah, they showed it off, I want to say, at an Xbox showcase because it was coming to Games Pass.
Yeah. So is it out? Can I buy it?
Yeah, you can play it for free on your Xbox, or you could pay $30 and play it on Switch, whatever you want to do. I've been playing it for free. Card Shark is a neat looking... I don't know how to explain it. I guess what you're supposed to be doing is playing poker, but at the same time, like, playing it illegally by, like, using cards, and if people catch you, then they shoot you. It was a really weird trailer, but it was one of the more well-produced ones. That's why I brought it up. After that was Garden Story was a little bit earlier on in the conference, but Garden Story looked pretty neat, like a top-down Zelda-y style game. I think it's also like a Harvest Moon style, sim farming, things like that. I don't have a ton to say. It looked kind of interesting. The next one that I want to talk about, I will probably pick up very soon. It's called A Short Hike. Have you heard about it?
A Short Hike?
Yeah, it came out actually last fall for PC, and I had heard great things. It's like $7, and the gameplay is just you kind of walk up a mountain, a short hike, and you get different abilities, and you can like jump and fly because you're a bird. And it's like all animals, and it looks pretty great. It's super dirt cheap. It's like $7, I think, on Switch.
It looks, I don't know. I mean, it looks wacky, but it looks like it's fun.
Yeah, like I'm very excited. And that also dropped yesterday. That was also one of the shadow drops.
I love the animation on here.
Yeah, it's really cool. Kind of like an N64 game, but a little bit smoother, or like an original DS 3D game. This next one came out on Apple Arcade last year. It was called Grindstone. It's coming to Switch this year. I assume Apple Arcade's a 1-year exclusivity because a couple of the games are coming to Switch 1 year after Apple Arcade launched. This and Oceanhorn 2. Grindstone is like, I don't know how to explain it because I'm sure there's a lot of games like it, but I haven't played many. You kind of like try to match as many of the same color up as possible.
Oh, yeah.
By using a dude, and you'll be able to attack guys if you can get the same colors. I got 1 month of Apple Arcade and played it a lot. It was really, really fun. I don't think I'll pay for it on Switch, but it's worth playing if you haven't tried it out yet.
Okay.
And then they ended the showcase with Goose. You know the Untitled Goose game?
Yeah.
Yeah, they ended with the announcement that they're gonna have co-op in September.
I saw that. Yeah.
I think like we should play that. It's part of Games Pass, and I think if the co-op comes to it for free, it would be totally worth playing because Goose Game was fun, but a lot of the issues I had with it are just it's kind of it's a lot more challenging than it is just fun. So you're kind of like, oh, I got to get this guy, and every time I bring it around, he comes after me. But if you have 2 geese, and you're like walking around and you're helping me grab the thing while I'm distracting the gardener, that could be kind of fun.
Goose bullies, man.
Goose bullies. Did you get a chance to play that? It's on Games Pass.
I played like 5 minutes of it at my nephew's house. Like it's fun. It's weird. It's really weird. It reminded me a little bit of the Goat Simulator.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, Goat Simulator always looked more fun to me than Goose Game is, but I would kind of put him in that same ballpark too. I think they're kind of just like a go around, do a thing. So that's kind of it for the news that I had. Did you have any other articles or anything that was worth discussing?
No, I thought that there was going to be an Xbox conference this week, but I guess it didn't happen. So
Gamescom is the end of the month. I think if anything happens, it's going to happen then. That's every Xbox used to do a Gamescom show every year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe they're going to do that.
They need it.
So you guys know that recently we've been doing top 5s for exclusives for all the consoles. Next year we will do our top 5 games, not exclusive to consoles. But this week we're rounding out the big 3. Last week we did Sony. The week before we did Microsoft. Now we're doing Nintendo, the top 5 Nintendo games for this generation. Yeah, with predominantly Switch. Switch is weird because they had a lot of the stuff came out on Wii U, but I still think you can put it in your top 5 on Switch because who played Wii U, So yeah, man, do you have any honorable mentions to kick us off, or do you want me to go first?
Ooh, honorable mentions. I don't have. I just did 5. I don't have any honorable mentions.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I want to give an honorable mention to Luigi's Mansion.
You got it?
I didn't get it, but I mean, I dabbled with it a little bit.
Okay.
It's fun. It's entertaining. It's cute, I guess you could say. But it's one I would like to buy and go back to in the future. I just kind of played it at Target a little bit, so
yeah, they actually had a sale on it.
Did
they had a sale on it just this last week. I wish I would have told you. I almost picked it up because they had a digital sale, but it was like super timed, and it was like $20 off, which is very unusual for Nintendo.
Yeah, you usually only get like up
games.
to $10 off.
Yeah, that's kind of their cap. Normally games go down to $49.99. Okay, then I'll do 2 honorable mentions. I'll make them quick, but one of mine was Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Oh, that's right. You like that game.
That game's really cool. If you like XCOM games, I can't recommend it enough. It is very simplified, even though they have XCOM 2 now on Switch. It's just fun. It's a silly, fun game. The Donkey Kong DLC is a lot of fun. And then the other honorable mention was Octopath Traveler. Octopath Traveler was a really neat thing. The graphics were incredible. The gameplay was a lot of fun. I finished, I want to say, 1 or 2 of the 8 stories, which then leads to like a final thing. I know Dr. Don, I think, finished the whole game with everything and, everything. But I kind of ran out of steam. Gameplay gets kind of old after a certain point. But, I held my interest for about 40 or 50 hours. So what's your number 5 then?
All right, I got on my number 5, I got Yoshi's Crafted World. So this was a game that I enjoyed a lot. I got quite a bit of joy out of it, and I played co-op too. Like it's really fun. Granted, once you play about 4 or 5 hours of it, it becomes really repetitive. But it's for what it is. It's a fun game. Like if you just want to sit down and play something that is like reminiscent of the old Super Mario Brothers games, like this is a good one.
Yeah, this definitely is not on my list. It did look very cool. If they ever decide to drop it to like $20 or $30, I'd for sure pick it up.
I bought it for $30 on Mario Day.
Oh, yeah, they did have one weird... Oh, March 10th. Yeah, they did some really good deals that day.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It really looks incredible. I honestly got bored of the demo, so like I said, I probably shouldn't buy it.
Well,
but it is a beautiful game.
Don't expect it to be more fun when you pick it up, but like it is, I don't know, like how you play those games and like the first time you play it, it feels very magical.
Yeah.
That's what this game feels like. And granted, the magic wears off, but I mean, like it was pretty fun.
Yeah. That is a game that came out on Switch. My game is Cadence of Hyrule. My fifth game on my list.
Isn't there? They announced some expansions for that. I remember.
Yeah, they did. I want to go back to it. I haven't. The music is incredible. It is from the Crypt of the Necrodancer people, so you have to like kind of be on time while you move. I think the game is like 5 or 6 hours. It was so much fun. Like that was kind of all I wanted to play when it came out, and the music was so good that all I wanted to do was listen to that soundtrack. I still would be happy to buy it on vinyl, but they don't sell it anywhere. There's not a ton to say. I mean, it's great game, beautiful artwork, looks like Legend of Zelda.
It's in the same universe, right? It is a Zelda game technically.
Yeah, it's kind of it's weird because it is a Zelda game, but it's like you're the Necrodancer girl and you get transported to their world, so you can play as either her or Link or Zelda, and then they've just added a ton of characters since then. Check it out. What's your number 4?
Number 4, so I finally got around to playing Oninaki, and
nice.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's a beautiful game. Like, granted, you have your like cheesy JRPG elements, but I mean, compared to what Lost Sphere was, it's a night and day difference. And I love the mechanic of there's 2 different play styles. Almost like you can play in the world of the living, and then you can switch it over and play in the world of the dead. It's an interesting game. Like it's very artistic, and the combat flows. It's really, really smooth combat in this game, and it's not. I don't hate it like I hated Lost Sphere, and it just I don't know. Like I didn't want to play it because the last Tokyo RPG game that I played left a bad taste in my mouth. But then I played this, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just so nobody yells at us, we know it's on PlayStation 4 and Microsoft Windows, but I think that's kind of.
Yeah.
It's okay, but I think that's kind of how you associate it, because I thought of all those games, I was like, oh, those are Switch games, and I realized I'm like, no, there's a lot more stuff that also comes to PlayStation 4 that we just kind of write off because it's better on Switch. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I get you, man. I felt that way about, Dragon Quest 11. I almost put that on my list, and I'm like, oh, that's also not a Switch game. But yeah, Oninaki looked cool. I wanted to give it a shot. I should when it drops to cheap. I think I've seen it for like $25 before.
It's still, it's like normally $30, I think.
I think it's normally $50. Because Lost Sphere is normally $50, and so is I Am Setsuna. So unless it's like a cheaper game, they're all crazy expensive. It looked, I do want to give it a shot, but there are so many games I'm playing, I don't even know when I'll get around to it. My number 4 is Animal Crossing New Horizons. It came out in March of this year, and it was, the end of March, last week. And it was right after we were told we could not go outside, and we had started a quarantine. I had just lost my job, and it was a great, pleasant place to go and do daily chores. And I can't recommend it to everyone, but yeah, it was a really good place for me.
From what I've been told, it's a nice like mental vacation.
It is. It is chores. I mean, it is a vacation where you are doing chores. And at some point you realize that and you stop playing. In my case, like I got to the last upgrade for the house, and I kind of asked myself, what else is there to do? You know what I mean? Like, you can get your island level up, which is still something that's doable pretty quickly, and then it unlocks one other part to the game, which I kind of wanted. But most of it is just every day you go in there, you go and pick up your fossils or whatever so you can increase your museum, and you try to sell things, and you get more money so you can pay off all your debt. And then you can get, new bridges and stuff. It's wonderful. They have like no quality of life features in that game. So hopefully someday in the future they'll patch in stuff so everything isn't so archaic and takes 4 times longer than it should to do. Yeah. And at that point I'll probably jump back in. What's up?
Oh, I was going to say, people are still buying the game, though. I mean, it's
insane. It's over 20 million, I think, sold since this year. It's like, I think, one of the top 5 best-selling games on Switch now, but I'm not positive. I know. I think I just read recently Switch has sold like 50 million or something like that. It's sold a lot, and the Switch is now also hard to find.
Yeah, they're still hard to find. I know they had shipped a lot. They had shipped some more units, and people were advertising them, and then I guess they're selling out real quick.
It is a bonkers world, man, but for a while there, I guess a ton of people have way too much money and no idea what to do with it. What is your number 3 game?
So number 3, I got, it's actually a new one, and it's also on Wii, I know, Xenoblade Chronicles.
We've never heard of that game. Tell us, what is a Xenoblade Chronicles?
Well, you live on 2 giants that used to fight each other, but now have turned to stone. One giant is a place where machines live. The other giant's a place where people live. You got a magic sword that slices through robots. Got a bunch of Japanese anime-looking characters that talk with Australian accents. It's everything that a good game needs, you know?
Yeah, I like this. I like this bro discussion of an anime game. Yeah, it is a... It looks cool. I've heard it's just a time sink. I've heard like to beat that game, you are looking at 100 hours.
Yeah,
so that's kind of why I'm picked it up.
have about 8 hours dropped into it, and I haven't even left the first city yet. So
you're still Tutorial Island or whatever it probably is.
Yeah. There's so many. Like, you walk out after every like plot point you hit, you walk away, and they instantly fill the screen with like 18 side quests.
Yeah, I want to give it a shot. I almost bought it when it came out, but I also was like looking at it and being like, when am I going to play this? And then I just didn't buy it because I knew I'd never get very far.
Right. And, to that note, I like the game and the fact that it's not something I feel like I have to sit down and play for hours at a time. Like, I can keep coming back to it whenever I like pick up my Switch and I'm going somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It is probably the best way they could have made it. My number 3 is kind of also that idea, but it's just, to me, it was such a cool idea. It was Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of got a little bit of Persona mixed with the normal Fire Emblem. I don't know if you played Awakening or any of the 3DS games.
No, I haven't. This is the one you talked about on Topicocalypse, right?
This was my faves. I think it was like my 2nd or 3rd favorite game from last year as well.
Yeah.
It's really fun. There's like 3 different houses to play as, and one of the houses has 2 choices. So you could essentially play the game 4 times and get different options or different story outcomes. The gameplay itself is really fun. It is a little easy, but I think I never boosted the difficulty because I just don't want it to be like not fun either. But I think they even added some newer modes. But the main things I liked was the balance of going around the school and talking to people and kind of raising your like level and rating with them, mixed with like the fun kind of tactical combat that you would do. And then leveling up your characters and getting the new classes and all that stuff. It's really an incredible game. Like I think I mentioned that when I talked about it last year, is it's easy to put it in the echelon of the games that you and I are both probably going to talk about in just 1 minute, of the best Switch games. Yeah. And the Switch is a weird console because I'd be very surprised if our 1 and 2 weren't either the same or just the flip-flop of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Switch had some incredible games that came out really early on that kind of like solidified as just like a, whoa, okay, this console's
powerhouse. Yeah.
What is your number 2? And we can probably say it together.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Yep, there we go.
It, man.
Yeah. That's both of our number 2s.
I don't know. This was like the first I skipped the generation of Nintendo. You know, I played Mario 64, but I skipped all like the GameCube games and stuff like that. So and the stuff on the Wii. And this was the first Mario game I'd fully devoted myself to in years, and it was everything that I loved about Mario and all kinds of new stuff added to it. You know, I love the big city levels. Like I love the the replayability of it, right? Going back and getting the stars and stuff like that. Like it's fun. It has so much content there and so many like different ways to play and different things to go back and do over and over again. It's not something you can just go through once. You can go back and keep playing it again and again.
Yeah, I've actually played through that game twice. I never got all 999 stars, mainly just because there were like 2 that were annoying. I think those were the only 2 I didn't do, the jump rope
some of them
and
are
the
crazy
volleyball.
hard to get. Yeah.
And then you could literally buy stars at one point, which I thought was kind of silly, but whatever. Like you can buy up to 999. You don't need it. So I did all the Dark Side of the Moon stuff and all the bosses and Darker Side of the Moon, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, kind of what you said. Like the mechanics are great. It's a joy to play. The hat mechanic is just phenomenal. Like you kind of wouldn't think about it, but just making Mario every single character that then has their own rules becomes so much fun. Like, oh, I need to sneak by these people, or oh, I need to fly across this chasm.
Yeah,
Mario can't fly, you know. Yeah, it's a phenomenal game. I really hope we get a sequel. I don't know if we will. I was hoping they would at least release DLC or something, because I could go for a Mario Odyssey 2.
Yeah, everyone was talking about that when the game came out. I thought they were discussing it. I don't know if there are any plans for it.
I hope they do. Nintendo doesn't have a huge history of releasing sequels, like direct sequels. Like I think the only Mario game that has a direct sequel that's been 3D is Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
I really hope they do for this. I really hope they do, just because it was so much fun. I would be so sad to only have one experience in the Mario Odyssey universe.
The setting of the game is what, like the settings of the game is what makes it so fun.
Yeah, it is essentially the wall portrait jumping into thing from 64, but on like a much more understandable scale of you're flying around from different things. And it just, it's got such a sense of adventure, and the music is great. And there's just all these moments. Like I just constantly think back to the trailer when they showed it off and Mario's like dancing and doing all this other stuff and thinking like, oh man, that looks so much fun. And then playing it and realizing like, this is the only thing I want to do.
Just as fun as it looked, yeah.
Yeah. And since you gave our number 2, I'll give our number 1. 3, 2, 1. The
Need
Legend
for Speed.
Of Zelda.
Oh, sorry.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Speaking of sequels, that is one of those games that is getting a direct sequel, and I am so happy because like Mario Odyssey, like I haven't felt this type of experience where I just wanted to go into a world and explore and see what's hiding around the next bend or find a shrine, which was an ingenious thing, like a super fun puzzle room essentially that you use to get more abilities and things like that, or to become stronger or increase your like power. And it's the game, it's like Disneyland. Like every hill, like I'd want to shut it off, but I just want to go up to the top of that hill, see if there's a shrine there. Or when you'd find a village, you'd just be like, oh, this is so cool, it's so neat. Like you don't know what to expect, and everything's new. And oh man, I love that game. I recently replayed it. I assume it's your number 1 as well. What do you think about it?
I fell in love with that game within 10 minutes of turning it on, you know, and like this is the only game like I have a weird history with Zelda. Like if I don't love it within the first 15 minutes of me playing, I usually shut it off. And you know, that happened with Twilight Princess, I think was the last one I played.
Long tutorial with Twilight Princess.
Right. So with this one, like the tutorial was super short, and so I could just kind of get in there and play. Loved being able to glide, and this was the first game ever, you know, and I do enjoy RPGs, you know, I enjoy the open world aspect of games. This was the first game that I truly wanted to explore every inch of the map. And, you know, I would see like that, there's a shrine over there, but I can't just walk up to it. I have to climb this mountain. I have to like buy clothes to keep, or craft clothes to keep me warm or keep me safe from the fire. It was so much more than just exploration. Like they made you uncover certain aspects of the game if you wanted to fully explore it. And I think that is something that very few games do. I don't know. I guess my one complaint would be like there's no voice dialogue, but I don't think we'll ever get something like that in a Zelda game. But it still gives it character, though. I really, really loved the little machine things running around, and
the Guardians.
The Guardians, yeah, because like they were so hard to beat, but then once I figured out how to do it, is a lot easier. But my favorite part of the game is the boss fight with Ganon, because you can't just fight him in one style. You have to do 3 different things to defeat the 3 different forms of Ganon, and I think that was genius, because it really made the boss fight feel less stale in the end.
Yeah, and how cool was that where, like, if you wanted to fight Ganon immediately, you could. I mean, the only benefit for awakening the divine beasts and fixing the world was that your last boss fight's going to be way easier because they're going to be helping you.
Yeah. I've seen speedrunners do that. I don't know if I wanted to absorb the entire game. I don't think I'm skilled enough to go straight towards Ganon.
Yeah, I think I did like 90 of the shrines or 80 of the shrines without any type of help, and then I used a guide to get the remaining 30. That's a game that was just so much fun that like I didn't want it to end, and it was perfect because it came out right when the Switch came out, so there wasn't like a lot to play. So that's kind of I played that for about almost 2 months, man. It's wonderful that probably next year, hopefully, around this time, we'll either have played the new Breath of the Wild 2, or it will be coming in like a few months from now. It's still probably going to be a 2021 game. I was really hoping for 2020 originally before, the world started catching on fire and everybody went crazy. But yeah, man, we are almost at the end of a very strange year for gaming, but it's fun to look back and just see how many great games there are. And like, if you have the time just to like, go back and play them, like if there's somebody who listens to this who bought a Switch and you're like, I don't know what 5 games to get. These 5 games that we all mentioned are just great. Or I guess we mentioned like 8 games because we had the same top 2 and then we had a different bottom 3.
Mm-hmm. But remember, anything with Fast and the Furious in the title is hands down buy automatically.
Yeah,
all golden
Fast and Furious Crossroads is the... Yeah. There's one thing we expect you to understand here by listening to Super Yes. You get your Croc and you get your Fast Furious Crossroads, okay?
Yeah. Why else does this podcast exist?
Yeah, we are a Fast and Furious Crossroads fan cast. We meet every week to talk more and more about that game because it's like an onion, man. There's so many layers to it. I can't wait.
Yep. Tune in next week. I'll show you my Vin Diesel tattoo.
Nice. Yeah, hopefully next week we'll have some stuff to talk about with this Batman junk, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, as long as he's a DLC character in Fast Furious Crossroads, that is.
Which we'll talk about anyways.
Okay, my doodly. I will talk to you soon. Peace.
Late.
Oh, yeah.